Hey, before we get into the podcast, I just want to thank this week's sponsor. This week's sponsor is Sock Panda. They are a monthly sock subscription service, and I have personally bought them for members of my family, specifically my daughter. She absolutely loved them. Once a month, she'd be able to go out to the mailbox and get a new pair of socks, and it was always a surprise on like what they were. Sometimes it was like a surfing squirrel, and other times there were aliens. It was just pretty much all sorts of socks for everything you could possibly imagine. And they have men's socks, women's socks, tween socks, kids socks, and you can go on and you can purchase just one set, or you can get a subscription, and it makes for a great gift. And we're heading into the holiday season, and supply chains are an issue, so this is going to be a great gift that gives for the whole year or 6 months or however long you want to sign up for the sock subscription. And even better than that, the Sock Panda team is dedicated to using its socks to make the world a better place. The company donates socks to those in need for every purchase. As of today, the company has donated over 141,000 pairs of socks to homeless shelters, low-income senior centers, hospitals, and underprivileged classrooms throughout the country. You can't go wrong with Sock Panda. They make great stuff, and they do great things. And today, they're giving our listeners a 15% discount. So you can go to sockpanda.com/discounts/Inebri-art15 to get 15% off your order. And we just want to say thank you to them for sponsoring the show. And make sure you go there and get some socks for yourself or for your loved ones this holiday season. Welcome back, Inebri-ites. This is Andy of the Inebri-art podcast. And, over the COVID lockdown and nonsense that we had to deal with, we started an online virtual comedy show, which has spawned real life comedy shows. And I've always been a comedy fan, and it kind of just keeps becoming like a bigger part of my life. And today's guest is a comedian out of Atlanta. You're in Atlanta, Georgia, right? It was my memory.
Born and raised.
Yeah. Kyndra Crump, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm glad we're here. First off, I want to thank you for not thinking I was bot or spam and just deleting my message. I appreciate it.
Oh, I usually respond to bots too, just for shits and giggles.
Really? So
sometimes you can get some really interesting conversation. We get a lot of spammers and scammers for like some of the events that we run, trying to sell tickets or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I will go and entertain myself by reaching out to them, pretending I need tickets to the event, and see how far it can go. And, offer to, instead of paying them, trade them. I believe one time I offered to trade them a small child in exchange for some tickets. And and then like when they finally give up, I just post a conversation. It's just fun.
So once you got, say, I'll give you a small child, what'd they say?
I'd have to go back and look. I think it was one of our vendor markets. And, I usually kind of start off real basic, being like, I'm interested. And then they'll be like, oh, this is where you send the money. I'm like, well, I still have some other questions. And then the questions just keep getting more absurd and absurd and absurd.
Oh my God. You know what? Yeah. I'm going to have to start. You know what? I did that with the Illuminati. It was in my Instagram DM. And I said, let me just entertain this. I'm like, the Illuminati, I'm like, because this is like, I probably had like 2,000 followers at that time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, let me just entertain this and see what's going on. And so what ended up happening is that they said, would you like to receive the riches and glory and fame from us? And I'm like, sure. They said, okay, well, send us some money and you'll receive a lot more money back. And I'm like, but you guys have all the money. Why don't you send me something so I know it's real? I said, here's my Cash App. Send me $20. No, you send me $20. Here's my Cash App. I'm like, oh, I didn't know y'all had Cash App. I didn't know y'all were, I was just like literally going, I said, no, y'all should be doing Zelle because that's what professional people do, right? Like the direct deposit. They said, come on, send us something. I'm like, no, you send me something. I'm like, so we went back and forth until they realized like, hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just leave her alone. I'm going to tell you something else that I've started doing now. Whenever a man comes in my DM and he wastes my time, I waste his. I make him more aggravated so he can just realize, hey, I'm gonna think twice before I just randomly try to slide into solicit sex. Okay. Let me tell you what happened with this one guy. I don't know if it's still going on, but as of right now, I think it's died down. So he came in my DM. Now, I have this issue about people who will, especially if men are trying to holler at me, they don't actually send me a friend request. They just send me a message, right? I have a thing about that. Why did not send me a friend request? Why are you just sending me a message? You know, especially if you find me attractive, why not look at my posts and everything? So I had one guy who had said to me, after a couple of weeks of having a conversation, he's like, so what's up? Can I, see you or what? I'm like, sure. You can see me. I do comedy on Wednesday nights on the south side of Atlanta. Come see me out there. And let me tell you something. So what I'm doing now, right? Because I'm over the whole, as you get older, you're supposed to grow more within your maturity and mentality. You're not supposed to like keep making the same mistakes, and everything else like that. And so with that being said, that's why your credit score is at 850, because you have your life together now. All right. Back to the story. So what happened was, I'm over the whole, like, when it comes with guys who are like, oh, so when am I going to see you? I'm over that. Why don't you plan a date, sir? Okay. Well, why don't you support me type of thing, right?
Yeah.
If you want me to take you seriously. I told him about, hey, why don't you just come to my comedy show? He's like, why do I need to come to a comedy show my first time meeting you? That's weird. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, you know what? I got time today. I'm about to flame you, right? It got to the point where he mentioned something about, you know what, if you don't stop, if you don't leave me alone, I'm gonna do something to you. I'm like, oh, really? I'm getting threatened online. I said, what are you gonna do to me? He's like, I'm gonna, fuck you real good, and I'm gonna stop talking to you. Wait, so you mean to tell me you're literally telling me what you're going to do? You're not going to be a smart or smooth operator, smooth criminal by just doing it without telling me? I said, okay, well, I'm going to keep it real with you. I'm not interested at all. He's like, yes, you are. You know you want this. I'm like, oh, not I know I want this. Okay. Well, here's the thing, right? I'm like, technically I'm a prostitute, which I think all women are prostitutes in a way. Let's just keep, can I break it down with you real quick? Let me explain to you how all women are prostitutes, right? You have different levels of prostitutes. Okay. You got women out there who go on dates with guys and then they have sex with them. But I don't understand. This is what people need to realize. Date stands for dick at the end. Okay. So you already prostituted yourself. Okay. Yeah. You have women out there who flat out, claim that, okay, well, we're in a relationship. He's supposed to give me money if I have sex with him. Ma'am, he's not supposed to give you anything. He doesn't have to if he doesn't want to. Yeah. Okay. Then you have women like me where I'm like, look, I'm at the point now where, look, if I'm coming to your house or if I'm having to like come spend time and energy with you, I need my compensation. Okay. Run me 300. Man, why? I don't pay for this. What am I like? So what am I going to get out of it? You going to get a good nut, sir. And I can do that to myself. Okay. So what, for free? All right. I pay my own bills. I'm hitting this, right? So he says to me, when I told him, he mentioned something about the $40. What I have an issue with the fact that you got women out here. These I guess these new age prostitutes are making guys not really work for it. So they're like, hey, give me $40 and we'll do whatever. I'm like, $40 can't get you nowhere. Okay. So I said, give me 300. And when he's like, bitch, I'm like, oh, not bitch. I'm like, da. So I'm like, you know what I started doing? It got to a point where whenever I have this thing about myself, and one day I'll grow up out of it. I don't know when, but one day I will. When you call me out of my name, I have the point where I'm like, I'm going to sit here and have the last word. I don't care if you end up blocking me, as long as I had the last word. Right. Yeah. And so what happened was he got to the point. He's like, look, how about this? If you ain't going, because he started putting all caps, like, please leave me alone. I said, sir, you're the one who called me a bitch. Okay. So I'm here. All right.
You're the one who started this conversation. That's kind of, yeah.
I'm like, listen, the bitch is here. Okay. Yeah. That's what, So then it got to a point where he kept putting suck some. So I started sending him male penises. I'm like, you keep saying it. That's what you like, sir. I said, welcome to Atlanta. I said, talked about, I was flaming him. I said, oh, dick in the booty ass little boy. Like, I was flaming him, Andy. I really was. And so he just and I started mocking him. As soon as he said suck some, I said suck some. And he says, you know what? He says, just stop. And I said, just stop. And he put the thumbs up emoji. I put the thumbs up emoji. So I think it's over now.
I'm gonna have to find because I have screen captures of the one that I was thinking of specifically, and I'll have to send it to you because it really made me laugh, and yeah, it's I don't know, it's an entertaining way to, and it's also one of those, I feel like if they're trying to scam people who are trying to come to our events, then if they're tied up with me, they're not going to be out scamming someone else because they're at least occupied by me.
That, and you know what? I was going to say this as well. So how you post those screenshots and everything, what I do on my own podcast, and you are more than welcome to come on my podcast at any time.
Oh, thank you.
And then once we're finished recording, we'll talk about the details so I can get you on. But on my podcast, I say names about podcasters. I say names with the different men in my DMs, you know, just awareness. Like, because I look at it like this. If they wasted my time and they're doing that to me, they're going to do it to you. I don't want you to run into the same thing. And people like that are not going to last. Right. And so that's what I do. I'm like, hey, y'all, this is who they are. Just to let you know, ladies, if you want you want to go to a random man's house so he can cook for you, this is the guy that you go to. This is his name in Facebook. And that's something to me is so wild how people. Let me ask you something.
Sure.
On an average, percentage wise, let's say you're having a conversation with a woman or a man. How often do you have people who just send you their address and their phone number off bat within the first couple days or less than a week of having a conversation with you?
Oh, almost never.
Man, I must be too nice because I have a lot of guys will, because I have a lot of male followers, especially on my Instagram. I have like 15K following, and out of that 15K, 95% male. Yeah. And out of that 95% male, I would say 30% of them send me their address and phone number. Like 30% for address, 75% for phone number within the first week. And
I wouldn't even do that like someone I met on a dating app. Like I would at least have to meet them first before I'm like, okay, this person's not a complete psychopath.
It's not even that. Like, we have all these apps, right, where it's not even necessary for people to end up having you to have their phone number. You can literally call them through an app. People are like, oh no, having a phone number, it's like having a ring. It's more personal. You're right, but at the same time, how many rings are you giving your out to, sir? How many rings are you giving to these women? Yeah. On top of that, and I don't even know your first or last name. You don't know what my first or last name is. Like, you don't want to. Again, people say, well, I can just change my number if I want to. I don't understand. Like, okay, I'll give you a prime example. The person who says I can change my number when I want to, this person had told me, he mentioned something about how he wants to see about getting close with me. And this is like within a week of having a conversation. I said, getting close to me by how? He's like, us having conversation every day, us hanging out, all that. I said, you mean like a relationship? No, I don't want a relationship. So why are we doing this? Just like someone who's there for me. And I'm like, okay, so we're doing all the things that are in a relationship without actually having a relationship. He's like, yeah. I said, so are you going to be okay if I end up talking and dating like 10 or 15 other guys? I mean, I don't care. Okay. Got you. Yeah. Stuff like that.
I've been in those relationships.
But it's like, to me, it's like, people need to really know what exactly is it that they want. Like, I like, either you want to be single or you don't. But to me, it's crazy how people just get that comfortable where they're like, oh, I can change my number if I want to. Why do you want to change your number? Why not? Or I'm not really on this app. Okay, well, you can talk back to me when you get back on the app. Like, that's the thing about it. People, they and that's what I do. Instead of me leaving a guy on scene, I literally will ask him questions. I think that's my toxic trait, right? It's a caring toxic trait. Okay. I will interrogate you about why you decided to make that stupid decision. Here's my favorite question. Hey, send me a pic. Why should I send you a picture? I mean, I just want to see what social media doesn't see. Okay, so what have you done to work for that? You're right, I haven't done nothing. So why'd you think that was okay? I don't know. I guess I don't know. I don't really know what you look like. So you mean to tell me, sir, that you randomly sent me a Facebook request and I accepted it and you slid in my DM, called me beautiful, but you don't know what I look like? He's like, well, no, just forget it. Oh, okay.
Do you think it's harder to date because you're a comic?
I think because I'm not afraid to speak my truth and feelings on how I feel about people.
Yeah.
I think that's why it's hard to date. I used to be so afraid to tell people how I honestly felt because I didn't want to get called out of my name. I didn't want people to block me. I didn't want people to unfriend me. But somebody told me that people can do all that and you still don't do nothing to them. You can like, if you politely, even if you tell them, yes, I'll go out with you, the one day that they're upset with you, you can still get called out of your name. You know, the one day that they have you can do nothing wrong and people will still block you or just call you out of your name for no reason. You know, so with that being said, I am at that point where I'm not afraid. Like I do not care. What's the worst that can happen? Death? We all gonna die one day. Now, of course, you don't want to speed up the death process, but I learned that you can be doing everything right, and an animal that escaped from the zoo mauls you just because it saw you as target. Like, do everything right, right? And so, with that being said, like my tolerance, and I'm gonna keep it. You know, I can keep it real with you. You know, we're family. I can be vulnerable with you.
Yeah, sure.
Me being a comic, you know, I get depressed. A lot of my stages of depression has gone from, like, it started from elementary. You know, every several years I have something new that depresses me, right? Okay. Me trying to be in a like present day now, it was a few months ago, me trying to go after my dreams and having people will sit here and give me the runaround, you know, which is why I commend you. And I want to commend you on camera as well for being so studious, for being professional, you know, and sending me the link several days before instead of the day of, like 10 minutes before. Hey, I'm about to send you the link now. Why are you now just sending me the link, sir? You could have sent me the link a week ago, right? So I appreciate you being very professional, you know, I really do appreciate it. And I just hope you walk outside and find $1,000 just randomly just rolled up somewhere. Oh shit, me too. You know, but again, we don't have a lot of you know, and I learned that I've been jumping on people's podcasts October 2020. I've been on at least 800 podcasts at this point. I'm not playing games, but let me tell you, I'm about to break down the analytics. Percentage wise of having unprofessional podcasters, 20%. Percentage wise of having podcasts where I will never return back to those podcasts because I was just really like bored and whatever, 30%, you know. And no. Let me take that back when it comes to unprofessional. And when I say unprofessional, like the no call, no shows, the you know, asking inappropriate questions. Like if it's a sex podcast, okay, whatever. But if this ain't no sex podcast, don't be asking like what?
If it's a sex podcast, you're at least going in knowing.
Freaking, I know. But if it's not a sex podcast, you don't want to buy me breakfast first before you just whip it out on camera. You know, unprofessionalism percentage wise, I'll give it 45%. Yeah. You know, like to me, I think the biggest pet peeve of mine when it comes to the podcasting game is when I have to follow up with that podcaster, even though they already accepted me to come on. I'm like, hey, are you still coming? Oh, I'm sorry. Like my dog had just got into a fight with a squirrel. So I'm breaking that up. But once this fight dies down, I'll send you the Zoom link type of, you know, stuff like that. The wildest excuses. Right. And so depression for me when it comes to dating is having the same men holler at me over and over again, right? And somebody said, could be something you're doing. There could be nothing I'm doing. Like you just have crappy people that will come in your life and just ruin that day for you. Right. I know this. You can be as positive, as optimistic as you want to be, you know, but I also learned that you have people in your life who will just come and they are full of crap. You know, and I think for me, I'm at the point where, and this is going to sound so sad to say, I have become bitter with men. And I know not every man is bad. I know that there are some decent men, but a lot of the men, I'll tell you the type of men that keep hollering at me. Okay. So you can bring you into my world of what I'm dealing with.
I'm feeling your pain, but just from the other side.
And I know you have to do, and you can tell me the type of women that keep hollering at you. You're like, woman, the audacity. So I have a lot of men who are unattractive. Look, I understand, you know, looks should not really matter, but I look at it like this. If God don't like ugly, why should I? That's one. A lot of guys are unattractive. A lot of guys are broke. And here comes my favorite line. So what do you bring to the table? Negro, I am the table. Okay, that's what I am. Like, you know, I love that. What do you bring to the table? Well, guys like money, women with money too. Oh, okay. Well, why don't you go find that woman then, sir? Why are you talking to me then? Okay. And then I'll look at it like this. Money does not buy happiness, but would you rather cry in Detroit or Dubai? Just saying.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, it's a financial stability thing. Like, I understand men and women, both parties, we want someone who's financially stable, but to me, it's not fair if you have one person whose credit score is at 850 and on the other person's credit score is at 200, like they're a leech, right?
Yeah.
A lot of men are broke. Not broke. A lot of men are old. Okay. I mean, like, bro, I was born during that last good year of Freaknik in the 90s. Okay. You know, for all the ones that don't know, that was like this Atlanta scene. Should have been there. I wish I would.
Okay, I was going to say, I have no idea what that was.
Okay, I'll tell you what Freaknik is. Freaknik is basically the last weekend of April every year in the 90s, from the late 80s to the 90s. They would have colleges from like Florida, Georgia, probably other states, surrounding states, that would come and they would just party, right? It was like, it was... Have you seen that movie? Oh, doggone. What is that movie that came out in 2009? It was like a house party with teens. It was rated R, and it was like a house party with teens. I'm gonna have to Google it.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Project X. You've seen Project X, right?
No.
Okay, well, oh, you got homework assignments to do. Project X came out like in 2009, and it was basically like a teens party type of stuff, you know. But basically, Freaknik was for all of the HBCUs out there, and you just had kids, you know, different people of color come out. You know, I'm pretty sure they had other ethnicities, but it was like a black type of thing, right? And it would just, people would just sit here. They would, you know, get on the top of their car and they would just start twerking. They didn't have cameras back then, so it's like whatever happens. But they had to shut it down because it got too crazy. People, like women, were getting raped. They started leaving their cars on the highway and leaving it for a few days, and they just be out there partying, right? And Bill Campbell, the former mayor, had to shut it down because, again, it was just getting too out of control, right? And so, man, that's why I wish I was born between 1969 and 1982, so I could have lived some type of life, you know, a lot better than what I'm living now, you know. So with that being said, me being like in my 20s, like, you know, early 20s or whatever, and I got cats in their late 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s trying to holler at me, and I'm like, okay, well, run me some money, man. You just a gold digger, yeah, sir. You're just an old fool trying to come after some young cat. You are a predator, and you ain't got no money for me. Like, I just really have an issue with that, right? You know, and there are some older men who are attractive, but again, they don't know how to act right. They don't know how to act right. I'm like, sir, a lot of guys are, I understand we're all, you know, hormonal creatures. I understand that. But at the same exact time, I like people who know how to keep it in their pants. I like someone who knows a time and place when to do what they're supposed to do. Yeah. You know, you don't understand, Andy, how many penis pictures I have received. And mind you,
I can only imagine. I've had female friends on dating apps who are just like, they'll be like, I get like 4 a day. And I'll be like, that's insane. Like, who does that?
That's why I had to get off those dating apps, you know, and I think that's the thing. Like, even with the dating apps, like, I think they're really just, you know, undercover hookup apps. That's really what it is.
Oh, for sure.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's why I think, like, you know, you need to take it. If you're trying to hook up, go to there. Stop trying to solicit sex for me in my DM. Like, don't do that. And
it's funny that we got
on Facebook on top of that. It's a family. Facebook is a family oriented place. Now, I might not say family friendly stuff, but it's family.
It's funny that we got here from scammers, because it's that kind of same mentality where they cast a broad net. You know, I'm going to send out 400,000 emails, or I'm going to send out 40 dick pics, just in hopes that one responds. It's like that same mentality. Like, they're not really into a specific person. They're just like, if I do this enough, someone will respond.
No, and that's and what I well, yeah, and that's the thing. Like it's a lottery analogy. Just like that's pretty much what it is. That's why you have these same type of men. And I was gonna say as well, a lot of people don't have their priorities. Like I've never met so many people over the age of 21 who don't have a car, a license, credit, a house, but they got Jordans, they got weed in their blood or a Crip. And it's like you actually think being a part of that gang life is going to actually save you when you in your 30s? Like, sir, like, why are you still got your flag out? And we had Chuck E. Cheese, man. We had Chuck E. Cheese. Like, here's my favorite. I be talking, like, I have a lot of inmates who will, they create a Facebook account and they'll add me, right?
Yeah.
And I know you're probably thinking like, Kyndra, why do you even like entertain these guys? I'm gonna tell you why. Because it's a marketing technique. I have a video on my YouTube channel. I try to get subscribers. I have a video on my YouTube channel that has like 42,000 views right now. If I keep promoting that video, it's going to get sent out to everybody. So I'm trying to get 4 million. That's what I'm doing. Right. So let me have a conversation with them. You never know. Some of them I've had a conversation. They cool. Like, I'm like, bro, when you come out, whenever you come out, if you eventually, let's hang out in real life, bro. You are cool. You're not a creep. The rest of them, but no. Even I had like my favorite part is talking to inmates and like the way with their spelling, they'll put an X when it comes to B or X when it comes to C. And I'm like, sir, you're in your 30s. Like you still really, I said, why do you want to be a part of street life? I mean, that's always been a part of me. The street life has landed you in jail, sir, in prison at that. Like you're never coming home. So yeah. But like I said, Andy, it's like, stuff like this has made me bitter towards men. And I literally am like Judge Judy. The one time you mess up, you out. I don't give you because again, you knew what you was doing. You had this plan in your mind that you thought I was one of those women. Somebody say, well, Kyndra, maybe like, cause I don't get hollered at in person. Like if I get hollered at in person, it's every now and again or so, but it's, when I'm getting hollered at online, it's like you already had this thought process in your head, to come at me a certain way. And some people are like, well, maybe because they could see that you're easy. I'm like, no, they're just, maybe it could be because, hey, I like their post and they're like, oh, she must want it. I'm like, I don't. I just am not a ghost follower.
I just thought that was funny. Yeah.
That was it, and so like I said, these are the things that have, like I said, over time have make me bitter because I don't have time to deal with nonsense. I'll give you one little prime example. And I want you to tell me your issues that you keep having with a lot of women that you've encountered. Okay.
Sure.
So the one last example, the other day while I was at work, had this guy come up to me and he said, I was on my phone. And he's like, hey, you gonna call me? You gonna put my number in your phone? And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, you gonna call me? And I'm like, can y'all have better pickup lines than this? I want a pickup line.
There's no good pickup lines. What is a good pickup line? There's
that makes that. I'm gonna tell you a good pickup line. A good pickup line that makes me say, "Hey, you know what? That was so good. I'm gonna put your penis on my head, like I want you to teabag me." That was a fire pickup line. Like I was like, "Wow, like you are like amazing." I mean, I haven't came across any guy to come up with a good pickup line. So I said to him, I said, okay, well, I'm going to keep it real with you. I like men with money and I need to see what your teeth look like. So he's like, you sure you want to see my teeth? I'm like, yeah, let me see your teeth. So he pulls his mask down. He has golds in his mouth. I'm like, okay, cool. At least they're not crooked golds. Yeah. I mean, there's some out there who have crooked golds. I'm like, sir, the gold person didn't care enough to like tell you to go get braces first and get your teeth, whatever. But anyway, so this was in my last hour of work. And I had said to him, I was like, I'm getting off work and I work at the airport. So there's a food court on every concourse. Yeah. And I said to him, I'm about to get off work. I said, I'm hungry. At that point, something in his mind should have said, ding, ding, ding. Let me take her. Because his flight wasn't until like 2 or 3 hours later. Let me take her somewhere in the food court. We can go get something to eat. Yeah. And do you think he said that?
No. What did he say?
Of course not. Instead, he was like, I want you to call me, make sure you text my phone, text my number or whatever. I said, okay, I'll text you. And I told him I was hungry twice. And I went to the food court. And I sat there and I ate, by myself. The only man that came up to me was like, "Hey, can I use this chair? You using this chair?" I'm like, "Oh, wow. I mean, you're old, but I think you look like you're married. So yeah, take the chair, sir." And so the next day he finally responded back to my message like a day and a half later. And I'm like, "Yeah, you're already doing bad." Okay. So we had a conversation last night for like close to an hour. And after the conversation was over, I said, "Okay, well, I'll talk back with you in a couple days." He's like, "Okay, well, nice interview that you had given me." Nice interview. Let me tell you something real quick, Andy, as well. I hate when I'm asking a few questions. You're like, "What is this, an interview?" Bro, if you're boring, just say that. Like, just say that. Like, what is the whole purpose of you sliding in my DM, wanting my number, and I ask you questions and you're like, "Is this an interview?" What did you expect was going to happen?
Right.
But yeah,
you're supposed to uphold a conversation. Like, they're supposed to have questions too. Like,
exactly. He didn't have really any questions for me. And so I told him, I asked him if he had know any podcasters, and he said, "Yeah, I can see about, a podcast, getting you on a podcast." I said, "Okay, cool. Hopefully he does that. If he does not, and I'm not going to call him, I'm going to see if he actually calls me, or whatever else it may be. Because I'm not doing that. Like I'm not putting that much energy in you. I'm already turned off the fact that you even take me to go get no food, all that type of stuff." He said, "Oh, I'll be back at the airport like tomorrow. Do you want to come surprise me and see me?" What? For what? I have to pay to park. Are you going to reimburse me for that? I'm hungry, but I mean, I already have podcasts today, and I told him the truth. Even if I didn't have podcasts, I will let him know. I'm just going to keep it real with you. Like, you didn't even buy me like any food or anything. So what makes you think I want to, and you claim that you got money. But yeah, that's the end of that. We're going to see how long this lasts. I think it's already ended. But tell me about yourself, Andy. Tell me about with you, like the issues that you've had when it came to trying to date women that you keep running into.
What is this, an interview? No. I find that, and friends of mine have told me that I'm, quote, the safe guy.
What does that mean?
I fuck if I know. But I find that I end up dating women who come out of a bad relationship, and I don't want to say use me, but I'm like the one that they date for a brief time and then like quickly move on to someone else. I'm like I don't know. I'm the one they date immediately after. I'm like, I feel like I'm always the rebound. I'm always the rebound guy. Yeah. I hate that word term, but yeah, I feel like I'm always the rebound guy.
Okay.
It sucks. And I find, because I'm an old dude, that it's almost impossible to not date someone who's recently out of a relationship, because I mean, at my age, everyone is coming out of marriages. Like, if you're single and in your late 40s and you've been single for a long time.
Oh wait, you almost at the AARP age?
Yeah. Fuck you. Yes.
I mean, I thought probably you were like, maybe I saw the gray in your hair. So okay, maybe he's in his 30s, but oh my goodness.
No, I'm gonna be 47 in just over a month.
Wow. You know what? So what are we doing on your 50th birthday? You want me to get some snow bunnies? You want to get some stripper? You want some strippers from Magic City, this adult wonderland where it's like nothing but
Magic
ass
City.
Shit. Yeah. So out here in Atlanta, there's this place called Magic City. A lot of rappers promote it. So you go there and you go in rich, you leave out broke. But if you have a lot of money, you'll go in rich and come out richer. And so you just go in there, you just see nothing but like scattered ass just in the air.
Yeah,
and
man,
then when
I've never been into strip clubs. I just find it's like the worst buyer remorse ever, because you come out broke and you're like, I got nothing.
You know what? Let me do a hand clap for that, because again, Andy, you're smart. Why? And I had a random polling question. The random polling question was, what is the? I'm trying to remember. This was months ago. Basically, I was saying that why is it that people go and support strip clubs, when in actuality it's a waste of money. Like, it's like paying for your food but never receiving it. Like, why give that money to a woman just to take off her clothes? And I'm like, the average person has seen body part. And again, I understand, like, there's some guys out there who have seen, titties their entire life, but they just want to see mine. Right. Yeah. And I understand that, like, okay, that's fine. Run me some money. They're like, well, I got to run you my sorry. This is for your sexual gratification. Okay. I wasn't in your DM asking I was sending you pictures. What makes you think I want to see your pictures? What makes you think that? But no, I mean, it's like, I think strip clubs, honestly.
And like, I can see like back in the day when you didn't have other options. I mean, you can go and watch porn for free online.
But you know what it is? They want to see your body. They can have sex with a million women, but they have this thing where they want you to be the next person to have sex with. And but again, at the same time, this is a lot of men think, but Andy, I know you're probably shaking your head and thinking like, bro, what the fuck? But at the same time,
I don't disagree with any of that.
like you're like thinking like,
I may be a smart guy, but I'm still a guy.
I mean, no. I understand you're still a guy, but like you again, but you're still you're a smarter guy than average because you have OnlyFans where men are paying for this, and it's like they don't have no type of relationship at all. They're not building nothing. They're just giving their money away to these women. Women can just put their Cash App in their bio, and they have had men just send them money without no type of actual nothing. And that's what I'm saying. You're smart to say you have Pornhub and you can see it for free. You're not going to pay no Instagram thought to just, send her $200 for what?
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. You're a lot smarter than other guys. Now, I've had guys ask to, receive feet pictures from me. And I'm like, okay, run me money. And guys have paid for that. And I'm like, wow, okay. Yeah, like, so can we get in a relationship for what? You're a simp. I don't want, you're a loser, bro. Like, for what reason? But I understand your pain. I think a lot of times when it comes with men, like I say, in your age group, the older you're getting, once you have people around you who are getting married and they have families, it's like, do you ever feel yourself, or have you gone through a midlife crisis?
Well, I dated this one girl in her 20s not too long ago, and I refer to her as my midlife crisis, but I don't think that's what most people mean. I don't know. Like, So, like, I have been married. I have kids.
Oh, well, happy Father's Day to you.
Oh, thanks. And they're amazing. I'm so focused on, my business and my podcast and stuff that I just don't, like I've, talked with some people on dating apps and they're like, do you even have time for me? And I'm like, well, if that's your question, probably not. I'm a business owner first, and that I can't stop running my business to date someone, and it's my livelihood, and so it's a very complex situation, and I don't know, I've become very jaded and towards the dating world, and it's just like almost like I just don't. I've had so few good experiences that I'm like, why bother? Like, if it happens, it happens, but who gives a shit?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Let me ask you, what made you start jumping on dating apps in the first place?
That's way back. That's when I was first separated. Was I even divorced? I might have been divorced. I think it was because I was separated from my wife for like, I think 4 years before we ever actually bothered to get a divorce. So like, that's the time like that I first started like, well, all my friends are like, you need to get back out there. And I'm like, you don't understand. Like, I met my wife in high school. Like, dating apps then were a note that you slid across the desk that said, do you like me? Check yes or no. And that was socially acceptable. I'm like, I can't do that now. So I think it was more just to try and like get my feet wet and kind of like, quote, get back out there. But they suck. They suck a lot.
The woman who was in her 20s, was she like a money hungry woman, or
she was she had like baby fever.
Okay.
And she was like, I want to get married and have kids. And I'm like, no thanks, I'm all set. And I'm like, we can still, I'm no harm, no foul. Like, I'm not mad, but that's not where I'm going. And so like we kind of called it off, and then like a few weeks later, she's like, oh, maybe we can just keep this casual. I'm like, that's fine. I'm like, that's cool with me. And then it would kind of go through this cycle where she'd be like, after a couple of weeks, she'd be like, well, I really want to get married and have kids. And I'd be like, that's not, we're keeping this casual, whatever. And it would just kind of run through this cycle. And it got to
what? Like, lady, come on now. Like, he already let you know what time it was. And then on top of that, like, I don't. Why not find?
Well, let me lay out how it went like completely south, because this blew me away. Is I was, we run events with breweries and bars and restaurants to like help them get customers on slow nights. That's one of the things we do. And so I was on the way to an event and I'm texting with her, and she said something along the lines of, "I should be the most important thing in your life." And I said, "I have kids. You think you should be more important than them?" And she's like, "Yes." And I'm like, "I don't have time for this. I'm running an event, blah, blah, blah." And she made some sort of comment. I'm like, "I don't think you respect what I do." And she's like, "I don't. It's just an excuse for you to drink with your friends." And I'm like, "Okay, first of all, I'm an adult. I don't need an excuse. I can just go drink with my friends. I don't need your approval." And I was just like, I'm all set. And then like the next day she's texting me. She's like, "Do you want to make up?" And I'm like, "No, go fuck yourself. Like, I don't want to have a fight just to make up a day later." And I'm like, "That's not what I'm about. I don't like drama." And I'm like, yeah, I was like all set.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. That to me is hilariously sad. That to me is hilariously sad, man. The fact that she literally like that, yeah. Hey, that's why I'm an organic meter. Meet people in real life.
Oh, I met her in real life. Yeah. I did meet her in real life, and that was just like one of those.
Like before, like the dating apps, like I'm like, just like not even the dating apps, just like out randomly meeting people, like maybe at through friends.
I didn't meet her on a dating app. That's what I mean. I legitimately met her in real life.
Got you.
And it was funny because like you made me think of her because you're saying like, "Oh, come to my comedy show." And that was like one of the first moments where I'm like, "Oh, I think she might be interested." Was we were running a pop-up art show and she showed up at it. And I was like, "Oh," and like we hung out and chit-chatted a bit. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. It just seems like, I don't want to be like, "Oh, all the good ones are taken," because that's so cliche. But it's just like,
it seems like a lot of us. The more you continue talking to people, the more you're going to realize a lot of us have the same things in common, and it's like we all need a support group. Honestly, for the ones who are single trying to make some type of relationship happen, we all need a support group.
Yeah, it's rough because like, friends will be like, "Oh, I'm there whenever you need me," and I'm like, "Well, I mean, like if I'm having an emergency, I know I can pick up the phone and like get a hold of you." But it's like, you have your family and your spouse or whatever. It's like, it's a very weird lifestyle I live. I guess I don't know.
People, I'm gonna go keep it real with you. People don't really care. People will fake care about your relation, about who you are as a person. They're like, like, "I'm too busy. I don't really care no more." People do not care like you would think that they should.
Yeah.
They'll just tell you to go get therapy. That's what they'll tell you.
Yeah. And oh my God, the advice. I can't stand some of the fucking advice people give you. What is it? You have to be happy alone first before you can be happy with someone else, and be like, "Well, if I'm happy alone, why the fuck would I go find someone else? I'm happy alone."
You know what?
Well, maybe you should work on yourself, and be like, "What the fuck does that mean? What's wrong?"
Exactly. Like I said earlier with one of the girls, she says, "Maybe it's something that you're doing to bring these people." I'm like, "Bro." And I asked her, I said, "So what do you," I said, "Could you help me?" All she did was put a laughing emoji, like laughed at my comment. I'm like, "Okay, so are you going to help me or not?" Yeah. I'm literally coming to you, letting you know. So I'm saying, man, Andy, people really don't give a damn, man. Like, I don't like people. You know what? I'm gonna take the SpongeBob analogy.
Okay.
As children, we're like SpongeBob. We're very forgiving. We are, there was only one time in SpongeBob where he raised his voice, and it was because he was taking care of Squidward, and Squidward did not want to go get a job. And it was like, that was a hilarious episode, right? And so, but other than that, he was very forgiving. He went back, he was a hard worker, all that. But as you get older, you slowly but surely turn into Squidward. And I remember as a kid, I'm like, why is Squidward so mean? Why is he grumpy? A lot of times Squidward represents a lot of us. We don't. And that's why I'm going back to school in January to go on the get this on the road to getting my PhD in child psychology, because a lot of our trauma, comes from childhood.
Oh, sure.
And so with that being said, I I feel like the reason we have so many crappy adults is because, you know, they don't get the necessary help. You know, a lot of kids, I hated middle school. Middle school was the start of just, you know,
Middle school
a
was
shit
brutal.
show.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It's a shit show. So with that being said, I learned over time that this is one thing I've learned, right? I grew up in an evangelistic household. Okay. So it was one of those types of household where, you know, what goes on in this house stays in this house. Go to God. God will answer all your prayers and he'll make everything better. Oh, just pray about it. Like one of those types of things. But I had to learn that God is not a genie. Okay. People need to quit. This is why God's inbox is so full, because y'all are sending him all of these prayers that are really don't need to be sent. Okay. Like my prayer needs to be sent. I'm trying to get to him, but you guys are blocking it. Oh, doggone it. So not only on top of that, there are things that go on in homes that need to be spoken about. Not only on top of that, you can't just pray everything away. God gives us tools and resources to help better certain things. But this is what happens when you are dogmatic in your religion and you're spewing out this type of falsism to people, you know, and that's one thing I learned. Like, you know, I think I went the serenity prayer, which is, Father God, grant me the serenity for the things I cannot change the things I can, and know the wisdom between the two. You know, there are things you cannot change. And right. that comes from wisdom and maturity. So like I said, for me personally, I wish people can stop saying the whole things of, you know, work on yourself, or you need to do this better. And I'm like, guys, this is not work. This is not the answer to it.
Right. And like, I get it. Like every relationship has a certain amount of work and compromise. You know, that's part of being in a relationship. But I'm always like, yeah, but I shouldn't be the only one working on it. You know, like it's a two-way street. But, you know, I'm not a religious person, but I've always liked, I think there was a Showtime show called Carnival, and they were talking, and there was this religious woman, and she said something about, if you're in a leaky boat, you can pray to God, but you better row for shore. And I always love that, because I'm like, you know, you can't just sit there and hope that it fixes. You need to like do something to improve.
And again, you have to, you know, I started learning, and I know we're coming up on our time. We're gonna be here till the next day, because this has been a fire conversation. I really appreciate it. But I've learned a lot of my stuff has come from dealing with spiritual people versus religious people. A lot of like what I just taught you was something that came more so from spiritual people. And with that being said, I, you know, got to that point where I learned there are multiple ways of tithing. How I tithe, and I also learned you have to have your own relationship with God, man. This is my motto. Okay, I start my day off with God in the morning, and I listen to some Trick Daddy right afterwards. Okay, it's a healthy balance. Yeah. You know, and I also learned, this is what people don't understand, man. Cursing is not when you say shit, damn, fuck. It's when you, like, if I say, Andy, you ain't shit, you stupid MF and whatever, like, go fuck yourself, I'm cursing you. Okay. Yeah. But if I stub my toe in the middle of the night and I say shit, that's not no curse word, but the church is gonna be like, you have a potty mouth. Do you know how many people the person who had baptized me, she said that, how is that your comedy is giving honor and glory to God? You need to have clean comedy. And mind you, I can make people laugh with or without using profanity. I just choose not to. I really don't care. Like I can make the elderly and children laugh. I can do that, you know, but I just choose not to. So you mean to tell me that this like, and I was having this debate with her, and she also had an issue with, smoking weed, that's a sin. I'm like, where does it say that in the Bible? Well, I mean, it doesn't say that. I said, okay, so how's it a sin? It's a sin because it says to obey the laws of the land. I said, you do realize that a lot of these laws were put here, you know, it was created by dumbass people to give to us that really makes no sense. Andy, go and look up. There are some laws out there that you would not think are laws that are, and you're like, bro, this is really a law. They are created by people to make us just to put us down. Yeah. Stuff that makes us positive, stuff that makes us feel good and everything else like that. The lawmakers will do this to try to bring us down and basically make us feel like them, miserable. Right.
Well, and it's one of those, historically speaking, that our laws were created by rich white men. So exactly. to better rich white men, they're not concerned about fair or equality, and that's always a problem.
And it's like I said, once you have to have common sense with stuff. And I had this conversation with her, and I wish she would have had this conversation with another friend of mine at the time, who literally, he had a tangent and a rant about that whole, how does your gift honor God? And I wish he was there to talk with her and let her know, because I'm like, you have got to stop. And I have this joke, right? I have this joke where, you can't put inspirational prayers online and still out there be, sleeping with some lady's husband and robbing folks. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
But then they want to be like, oh, you're judging me. No, God is judging you. Okay. You don't want God to judge you. Me talking about you is minuscule to what God's going to do once he already knows this. Once it comes into effect, when that karma hits, oh, you're going to wish that you weren't out there robbing people and just killing folks because they took your parking space. Okay. Yeah. But again, you can't have these type of conversations. Like, my mother doesn't like the fact that I do these podcasts. She doesn't like the fact that I do my comedy show on Wednesday nights or whatever, but I had to learn, am I doing this for my mom or am I doing this for myself? I'm the one who has a dream of so many different things that I want to do. I want to get out of where I'm at. I'm in a Section 8 neighborhood. So if you hear some gunshots, I think they're good right now because they know I'm recording. But on a regular.
That's really polite of them.
It's polite of them. But I want to get out of the Section 8 neighborhood. I want to go to an area where I don't have to go to the gas station and have somebody try to solicit something like, hey, can you buy my mixtape? You want this cat? I don't want to have to do that. I like to be in a place where, and that's the thing I don't understand. Like, why is it that in the rich neighborhoods, you don't have panhandling at the gas station, but in the lower income neighborhoods, you have that mess. You don't have in the rich neighborhoods, you don't have a sign once you're walking into the store that says it's a fee to use your card. That is against the law. It's a fee for your credit, but not your debit. I called the Better Business Bureau. Yeah. They told me to fuck off. Literally, they said that without saying it. Right. And I'm like, what are y'all good for? I'm coming to you with a complaint about a business, letting you know. But you tell me to get, like, I'm telling you. And I got banned from that store because I let them know about my rights. Right. So like I said, man, it's, to me, is an issue with a lot of different things, and you're gonna always have people have something negative to say, but I learned to turn that negative into a positive.
Nice. Well, we are kind of at that time. You mentioned the comedy show on when is it every Wednesday?
It's every Wednesday until I go back to school in January, or until I run out of material, and I'm like, let me just recycle this. So yeah.
Well, where is that show?
South side of Atlanta. It's called the Grand Fume Lounge. Some people don't want to go because it's in we say Clayco, but it stands for Clayton County. And Clayton County, a lot of it's either I don't have an issue with Clayco. I mean, maybe I don't know, but like we I guess because it's people get like arrested a lot or dirty cops. I don't know what it is, but a lot of people have an issue with Clayco. But I mean, it's not bad. I mean, it's hood, so come at your own risk. But it's not bad. The wings. I finally ate the wings last week. The wings are good, and they actually came out in a timely manner. I think like the record was 15 minutes, and I'm like, oh my gosh, because typically, those hood spots, food don't come out till like once the show's over. So it came out, and I was full off of like they said, do you want 6 or 8 wings? I'm like thinking I get like 10, typically like 10 or 12. Yeah, I think I should just do 6 wings, but it's good. I mean, it's a little pricey. I'm like, bro, you mean to tell me I just paid $14 for some wings and fries when I can go around the corner and pay like less than that for like $7 less, and it's more steroid in the chicken. This is bull crap. But anyway, I mean, it's a hood spot. It's one of those hood spots where they only got one bathroom stall. And I'm like, what? So what if somebody takes a dump? Then what? But yes, it's but if you guys want to get the address or so, slide in my DM and I will send the address to you.
And what's the name of your podcast so our listeners can go check that out?
The Kyndra Crump Show. So D is in the, KY, N as in Nancy, DRA, CRU, M as in Mary, P as in Paul, Show, SHOW. Same as my Instagram name. It's the same. My YouTube is Kyndra Crump, KYNDRA space CRUMP.
Awesome, man. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us. This was fun.
Hey, look, I think this was therapeutic for both of us.
Yeah, I know. I feel like I
two
feel like I'm on BetterHelp right now.
Hey, man, listen. I have given you, and you have given me both. We both have given each other like different tools, and we're both coming from two different places, two different people in two different states who are kind of going through the same thing and everything else like that. Yeah. So
nice. Awesome. Well, thanks again. Listeners, make sure you check out Kyndra Crump's YouTube channel, podcast. And if you're in the area, check out her comedy show on Wednesday nights. And we'll catch you guys again next week. Thanks for listening to today's podcast. You can find us on all social medias at Inebri-art or on Instagram at Inebri-art6. You can email us at Inebri-art@yahoo.com. And make sure you listen to the other podcasts on the Inebri-art Podcast Network, including Bar Talk, Old Colony Cast, Retro Redoctopus, America's Hometown Horror Podcast, and our newest one, Theme Park Legends, a podcast about working at theme parks. What else? And we'll catch you again next time.